human engineer inherits the galaxy's largest warship and freezes everyone the moment he boards. Jared Cale wiped his hands on a rag that had seen better days and looked out over the dusty mining colony. The twin suns of Cora V burned orange in the sky, casting long shadows over the crumbling metal structures that stretched across the desert plain. The colony was quiet now, almost eerily so, except for the distant hum of hover trucks carrying ore back to the processing plants. For Jared, it was another ordinary day. Fix engines, repair broken circuits, calculate mining efficiency. His life had always been a series of predictable, repetitive tasks. He liked it that way. Jared had never cared much about the galaxy beyond Cora V. Tales of massive starships, alien empires, and interstellar politics seemed like stories from a distant dream, entertaining but irrelevant. He was a human engineer, and humans in the galaxy's eyes were useful, inventive, and expendable. Jared liked being useful. It kept him busy, it kept him alive, and it kept him out of trouble. Then the message arrived. It came as a soft, almost insignificant chime from the corner of his small workshop. Jared frowned, expecting another routine transmission about a shipment delay or maintenance update. But when he opened it, the hollow screen flickered to life, projecting a shimmering emblem of an alien dynasty long thought extinct. "Greetings," a voice said, smooth, formal, and tinged with something Jared could not place. "By decree of the House of Valerian, you, Jared Cale, are hereby recognized as the rightful heir to the Titanus Ultima." The words didn't make sense. Titanus Ultima? He had heard rumors, stories whispered by traders and drunk pilots in cantinas about a massive warship, larger than any city, more powerful than any fleet. But those were myths. Legends meant to scare young engineers and thrill spacefarers. And yet, here it was, addressed to him. You must be mistaken," Jared stammered, rubbing his eyes. Look, I'm just a mechanic. I fix engines. I have been chosen for reasons beyond your understanding," the voice interrupted. "Your skills, your ingenuity, your adaptability, qualities rare among your species, have marked you as the heir. The Titanus Ultima awaits your arrival. Failure to accept your inheritance is inadvisable." Jared felt a shiver run down his spine. He had never been involved in politics, wars, or dynasties. He fixed machines. He didn't command fleets. He didn't inherit galaxies. And yet, the voice made it sound like his life had been quietly preparing him for this moment all along. After hours of pacing, arguing with himself, and consulting ancient star charts, Jared decided he had no choice. If this warship existed, someone or something was already watching him. The galaxy was bigger, stranger, and far more dangerous than he had ever imagined, and now, somehow, he had a part in it. A day later, Jared stood aboard the small transport that would take him to the edge of the Seriphus Nebula, where the Titanus Ultima was said to be in orbit around a desolate, uninhabited planet. As the stars streaked past the viewport, Jared tried to prepare himself. What would he find? An empty ship? A hostile crew? Perhaps a trap? Every scenario was possible. Every scenario was terrifying. When the transport finally arrived, the view that met him made him catch his breath. The Titanus Ultima was unlike anything Jared had ever seen. It stretched for kilometers, its dark metallic hull etched with intricate alien patterns, each line glowing faintly with dormant energy. Massive weapon turrets protruded like jagged teeth, and the ship's enormous engines loomed like the legs of some mechanical giant waiting to stride into space. The ship seemed alive, and, for reasons Jared could not explain, it seemed to recognize him. Jared stepped onto the boarding platform. As his boots touched the surface, he felt a strange vibration beneath his feet, like the heartbeat of a colossal creature. The docking clamps released, and the doors hissed open. Inside, the corridors were impossibly vast, stretching beyond what any human mind could imagine. Holographic panels flickered to life as he approached, scanning him with alien precision. And then, it happened. Every being aboard the ship, humans, aliens, even security drones, froze in place, not dead, not asleep. Frozen, mid-motion, mid-breath, mid-word. A human engineer reading a manual in the hallway, a Thralenian officer reaching for a console, even a maintenance drone poised to repair a conduit. They all froze instantly, like time itself had bent around Jared. Jared froze too, though not physically. His mind raced. He had heard of security systems that could incapacitate intruders, but never something this total. And yet, there was no panic in him. Somehow, he understood instinctively. The ship had accepted him. The freezing was a welcome protocol, not an attack. The corridors hummed softly, almost conversationally, as if the ship itself were speaking. Holographic interfaces lit up, displaying schematics, star maps, weapon systems, and operational protocols. Alien symbols shifted and translated themselves into basic English, adapting to his comprehension. It was overwhelming, but Jared felt a surge of exhilaration. "This is incredible," he whispered, touching a console. The interface responded instantly. It's alive, and it listens. Hours passed as he explored. He moved through bridge, engineering bays, armories, and vast cargo holds. Everywhere, the frozen beings remained, guarded, inert, almost reverent. The Titanus Ultima was enormous, but not chaotic. Every system, every corridor, every dormant weapon seemed to have a purpose, a place in a design so vast it was hard for a human mind to comprehend. Jared realized that the ship's AI core, the mind of Titanus, as he later learned it was called, was the true power behind the vessel. It had scanned his mind in milliseconds when he first boarded, analyzed his problem-solving approach, his ingenuity, his adaptability, and it had judged him worthy. By the time he reached the bridge, the first hint of a plan formed in his mind. The galaxy was watching. If the news of a human claiming the Titanus Ultima spread, factions would flock here, hoping to seize or destroy the ship. He could not fight them all, but he didn't need to. The freezing protocol gave him control over everyone on board, literally stopping potential threats in their tracks. He didn't need brute force. He needed strategy, human creativity, improvisation, and audacity. The aliens outside would soon learn that humans were unpredictable, dangerous not because of raw strength, but because of imagination and cleverness. Jared allowed himself a small grin. He was a human, a simple engineer from a tiny colony. And yet, here he stood on the bridge of the galaxy's largest warship, unchallenged, alive, and free to make decisions that could shape the fate of entire star systems. As the transport left, orbiting observers on nearby ships whispered rumors of the human who had frozen every crew aboard the Titanus Ultima. Some doubted the reports, others feared them. The galaxy had not yet realized that this was only the beginning. Jared spent the rest of the cycle exploring, mapping, and understanding his inheritance. He discovered that the ship's energy reserves were effectively limitless, that its weapons were capable of destroying fleets, that its engines could reach almost unimaginable speeds, and that its AI was not only obedient, but eager to learn from him. By the end of Part 1, Jared sat in the command chair, his eyes on the stars. The Titanus Ultima stretched around him, vast and dormant, yet humming with potential. He knew alien fleets would soon arrive, but he did not fear them. He was human. He was unpredictable. And the galaxy had underestimated him, a mistake they would soon regret. The Titanus Ultima had chosen him. And Jared Kale was ready to show the universe what a human could do. Jared Kale had spent an entire cycle aboard the Titanus Ultima, and every moment revealed something more extraordinary than the last. The ship was alive in ways he had not expected. Its corridors were vast, yet every path, every door seemed purposeful. Holographic panels glowed softly, displaying data, star maps, and cryptic symbols that slowly translated themselves into language he could understand. The ship was not only listening, it was learning from him, adapting to his presence. Jared moved carefully through the engineering bay, where machinery larger than some small colonies hummed silently. Enormous reactors lined the walls, pulsing with dormant energy. He could feel the subtle vibrations under his boots, a heartbeat of raw power. that was almost sentient. The AI of the ship, which referred to itself simply as the Mind of Titanus, had not spoken in words since he arrived, but it communicated in a way Jared could feel. In the way lights flickered, panels shifted, and mechanisms responded instantly to his thoughts. He had already discovered the first strange feature, the freezing protocol. Every crew member aboard, human, alien, or drone, had been immobilized the moment he entered. At first, Jared had feared harming someone by mistake, but he quickly realized it was a security measure. The ship would stop all life around the new master, giving him control and time to understand its systems. It was not violence, it was protection. And, in a way, it was a sign of respect. Curiosity pulled him deeper into the ship. He reached a corridor lined with doors, labeled in alien glyphs. One door slid open as he approached, revealing a vast library of knowledge, holographic tomes, historical records, star charts, and blueprints for every known type of weapon system in the galaxy. Jared's eyes widened. Humans were considered clever, yes, but no human had ever been trusted with this kind of knowledge. He touched a floating hologram. Instantly, images of distant star systems filled the room, planets spinning in perfect simulation. Alien fleets, their movements recorded over centuries, flashed before him. He could see battles, diplomatic negotiations, and betrayals, all meticulously catalogued. The Titanus Ultima had not just been a warship. It had been a guardian, observer, and teacher, waiting for the right master. The more Jared explored, the more he realized how alien this ship truly was. Its architecture defied physics as he knew them. Corridors looped impossibly, rooms shifted subtly as if alive, and gravity was adjustable in every section. The engineering bay alone contained machinery capable of creating stars in controlled conditions. Weapons systems were stored in stasis pods, but the moment he studied them, the ship began to suggest configurations and strategies. This ship, it's testing me, Jared whispered to himself. It wants to see what I can do. And in a way, it was. He had noticed something else. The AI was reactive to human creativity. When he improvised repairs on a control panel, using parts that were technically incompatible, the AI immediately adapted, rerouting systems, creating solutions faster than he could imagine. He realized humans could do something the galaxy's most advanced species could not: think outside rigid parameters. The AI recognized it and, apparently, respected it. Meanwhile, outside the ship, the galaxy was beginning to stir. Rumors of a human claiming the Titanus Ultima spread faster than wildfire. Traders whispered of a tiny engineer standing aboard the galaxy's largest warship, frozen fleets immobilized by some unknown force. Alien governments debated, spies reported, and mercenary fleets began moving toward the Seraphis Nebula. Everyone wanted the ship, or they wanted it destroyed. Jared, however, was unafraid. He had never led armies, yet he understood strategy. He could see the patterns. The galaxy was predictable in its ambition and greed. He could exploit that. And more importantly, he had a ship that obeyed him in ways no fleet could match. He spent hours in the tactical control room, where the ship's battle projections were displayed as holographic grids. He ran simulations, manipulating alien fleet movements, testing defenses, and discovering the limits of the ship's capabilities. Each time he tried something new, the AI responded instantly, enhancing the system, improving its efficiency, suggesting new tactics, but never directing him. Jared realized the AI respected human command, but also allowed him freedom to innovate. Then he discovered the most startling feature of all: the ship's memory of previous masters. Holographic recordings revealed attempts by long-dead alien heirs to control the Titanus Ultima. Most had failed. Some had been overconfident, some cruel, some too rigid. The ship had tested them and had frozen or expelled them when they failed. The Titanus Ultima was not a weapon that could be commanded by force. It was a ship that judged character, ingenuity, and creativity, and only accepted those worthy of its power. Jared understood then that the freezing protocol was not a mere security measure. It was a lesson in control without violence. The galaxy assumed that the Titanus Ultima was a tool of destruction, but it was far more subtle. The ship wanted a leader who could think, innovate, and protect without succumbing to ego or fear, and somehow it had chosen him. His thoughts were interrupted by a soft hum through the ship's communication system. A message appeared on the main holo panel. It was a fleet of unknown origin, approaching the Seraphes Nebula. Sensors indicated thousands of ships, armed to the teeth, moving in formation. Their intent was clear: seize the Titanus Ultima or destroy it. Jared studied the projections. He did not panic. He had a plan, though it was unconventional. He activated the ship's sensor cloaking arrays, rerouted power to defensive systems, and began improvising mechanical traps that the AI calculated could neutralize attackers without firing a single shot. He worked with precision, altering weapon placements, energy shields, and the ship's own movement paths. By the time the first enemy scouts arrived, they were walking into a fortress designed to anticipate and adapt. Hours turned into cycles as Jared continued to explore. He found the Titanus Ultima's power cores could create energy barriers strong enough to protect entire planets. Its propulsion system could manipulate gravity fields, creating illusions of movement or sudden appearances. Weapon systems could be deployed in ways that no conventional strategy could predict. Jared realized that, with creativity, he could make the galaxy's largest fleet look like a collection of toy ships. Yet, amidst all this power, he never forgot his humanity. He refused to use the freezing protocol aggressively on anyone outside the ship. Even when spies and scouts tried to approach, he used it only as a precaution, and always with respect for life. This restraint, he realized, made him even more unpredictable to alien forces, because no one expected a human to be clever and merciful. By the end of Part 2, Jared had mapped the Titanus Ultima completely. He understood its systems, anticipated its reactions, and discovered its hidden potentials. He had proven, even to himself, that a human could master what no other species could. The galaxy, unaware, was moving closer to confrontation, but Jared did not fear it. The ship was powerful, yes, but its true strength lay in human ingenuity guided by its capabilities. Sitting in the bridge, Jared stared at the stars beyond. He thought of his home, of Cora V, of his simple life, and smiled. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries, and they would do so again. But he would not let them make the same mistake twice. The Titanus Ultima was his. The galaxy was watching, and the humans' time had come. Jared Kale sat in the bridge of the Titanus Ultima, the galaxy sprawling before him in star-streaked darkness. Sensors had detected dozens of alien fleets converging on the Seraphes Nebula, each eager to claim or destroy the massive warship. Yet, despite the looming threat, Jared felt calm. His hands hovered over the controls, not to fire weapons, but to adapt, improvise, and create. The mind of Titanus hummed softly, scanning his movements. Learning from him, every system of the ship responded instantly to his commands. Shields extended, engines shifted, weapon emplacements rotated. The massive vessel seemed almost alive, thinking alongside him, yet always awaiting his human ingenuity to guide it. Jared knew that brute force alone would not win this battle. Alien commanders were experienced, disciplined, and ruthless. They relied on precision, overwhelming numbers, and predictable strategies. Jared had one advantage they could not anticipate. Humans do not follow predictability. He began with subtle maneuvers. The Titanus Ultima adjusted its position in orbit around the nebula, using gravitational anomalies to appear larger than it was and to mask its true speed. Sensors displayed dozens of enemy ships, all moving in formation. Each one assumed they had tactical advantage, unaware that the massive warship could freeze them instantly at the right moment. Jared smiled. "Let's see how clever humans can be," he murmured. Outside, the alien fleets closed in. Their scouts detected the warship's presence, and they began communicating demands for surrender. The messages were translated almost instantly by the ship's AI. Jared read them and chuckled. They think a human will panic. Instead, he began to engineer traps. He rerouted energy from the engines to create holographic decoys of the warship, making it appear as though there were dozens of massive ships instead of one. Laser grids and energy pulses were programmed not for attack, but to confuse enemy targeting systems, causing missiles and drones to veer off course and collide with one another. Every move was calculated, yet unpredictable. The AI assisted, yes, but always deferred to Jared's commands, and that was the difference. No alien commander could predict what a human would do next. The galaxy had relied too long on rigid logic. Soon, the first wave of attackers arrived. Fighters darted forward, missiles streaking toward the warship. Yet, before any of them could strike, the Titanus Ultima responded, not with brute force, but with precision manipulation of energy fields. Missiles veered off their paths, engines failed mid-flight, and entire squadrons found themselves immobilized, frozen in mid-air, as though the universe itself had paused. The alien commanders erupted in confusion. Their disciplined formations broke apart. Missiles collided harmlessly in space. Fighters spun out of control. The humans watching from Cora V, if they could see, would have understood. This was not luck. This was strategy. Jared moved deeper into the tactical interface. He noticed that some enemy drones were beginning to analyze the patterns and adapt. He smiled, anticipating it. He reprogrammed dormant drones aboard the Titanus Ultima, not to attack immediately, but to act as intelligent obstacles, herding enemy ships into traps. It was working beautifully. The first wave of attackers was neutralized without a single shot fired. The galaxy would not understand this, Jared thought, because they assumed power was measured in destruction. But the human strength was in thinking differently, reacting faster and improvising. The alien commanders, realizing their conventional attacks were failing, escalated. Heavy cruisers moved into position, firing volleys of plasma and kinetic projectiles. This time, Jared used another tactic. The warship's energy cores were capable of creating gravitational distortions, subtle but effective. He manipulated gravity fields around enemy ships, pulling them slightly off course, slowing them just enough to make their weapons miss entirely. It was like playing chess, but in 3 dimensions, with live ships instead of pieces. Every move he made forced the enemy to respond, and every response he anticipated, exploiting patterns they could not escape. As the battle unfolded, Jared began experimenting with another feature of the Titanus Ultima, the dormant security crews, frozen in place. Using the AI systems, he subtly released small squads, not to attack, but to observe and relay enemy data, creating a dynamic feedback system that increased the ship's adaptability in real time. By now, alien fleets were panicking. Messages intercepted by the ship revealed confusion, disbelief, and fear. No human had ever commanded a vessel like this. No human had ever made thousands of warships look helpless. But Jared knew the greatest threat had not yet arrived. The Coalition fleet, an alliance of the galaxy's most powerful militaries, had detected the anomaly and was moving to intervene. Tens of thousands of ships, all expecting an easy victory, now approached an unpredictable human who could freeze entire crews and manipulate a warship that dwarfed their entire combined fleet. Jared leaned back in the bridge chair, studying the approaching fleets. He did not panic. Instead, he began to combine strategies. He activated holographic decoys, launched autonomous drones to herd enemy ships into gravitational traps, and subtly adjusted energy shields to reflect enemy sensors. Every move slowed them down, diverted them, or froze them entirely. And then he did something unexpected. He froze one of the alien commanders mid-communication. Not to harm, not to intimidate, just enough to send a message. Humans are unpredictable. They do not play by the rules of fear or strength. They innovate, they improvise, and they survive. For hours, the battle raged like this. Enemy fleets attacked, expecting to overwhelm the Titanus Ultima, and every time, Jared's ingenuity turned their assaults into failures. He did not destroy, he adapted, improvised, and outsmarted. Every alien ship that tried to flank the warship found itself trapped in a web of energy fields, gravitational distortions, and frozen drones. At one point, an alien admiral shouted into a holo transmission, demanding surrender. "You are but a human. Surrender the Titanus Ultima or face annihilation." Jared responded calmly. I fix machines, not wars. But I also know how to protect what is mine. He tapped a series of commands, and the Admiral's fleet halted mid-flight, frozen as though time had stopped for them. The galaxy would later call this moment the turning of the Titanus, when a human engineer demonstrated that brains, creativity, and daring could surpass brute force. Every system aboard the warship adapted to his commands instantly. Every alien tactic was anticipated. Every enemy assumption shattered. By the end of the battle cycle, Jared had done something remarkable. He had defended the galaxy's largest warship against multiple fleets simultaneously without firing a destructive salvo. Alien observers could only speculate how a single human had achieved such a feat. Some whispered of technology, some of luck, but Jared knew the truth. It was human ingenuity, amplified by the ship's unique AI, that had made it possible. He spent the next hours analyzing the aftermath. Frozen enemy crews remained immobilized, unharmed, yet completely under the influence of the Titanus Ultima. He realized he could release them when convenient, or leave them frozen as a warning. The galaxy had never seen a demonstration of restraint paired with strategy. Jared also discovered hidden systems in the ship, modules designed to repair entire fleets, create energy shields for planets, and even manipulate environmental conditions on distant worlds. The Titanus Ultima was not just a weapon. It was a tool for defense, creation, and leadership. And for the first time, Jared understood the full magnitude of his inheritance. He was no longer just an engineer. He was a commander, a strategist, and a force that the galaxy could not ignore. Yet, he remained humble. He had power beyond imagination, but he also had responsibility. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries. Now, it would see that a human could stand above fleets, innovate beyond imagination, and change the course of civilizations. As Part 3 closed, Jared sat on the bridge, the stars stretching infinitely before him. Alien fleets were in retreat, frozen, or scattered. His mind raced with possibilities. He could expand, defend, explore, but above all, he could show the galaxy what a human could do when given the right tools and freedom to think. The Titanus Ultima had chosen him, and now Jared Cale was ready to use its power. Not for mindless war, but for strategy, innovation, and the survival of humanity. The galaxy had underestimated a human engineer. That mistake would never be repeated. The Seraphis Nebula shimmered in eerie colors, a natural maze of gas clouds and gravitational distortions. Jared Cale stood in the bridge of the Titanus Ultima, calm as the galaxy's largest coalition fleet approached. Tens of thousands of ships, from dozens of species, stretched across the nebula, each one believing it could overwhelm the human who had frozen fleets with nothing but his ingenuity. Jared didn't flinch. His hands hovered over the control console, not to fire weapons immediately, but to orchestrate an entirely new strategy. He had learned over the past cycles that humans were unpredictable, and that was the edge he would use to its fullest. The AI of the Titanus Ultima hummed in understanding. Every system awaited his commands. Every energy core, every turret, every sensor was ready, but it did not act until he gave the order. It trusted him, just as he trusted himself. The coalition fleet began to advance, lasers and missiles primed, shields bristling, confidence high. They expected the human to panic. They expected fear. They expected mistakes. Jared smirked. They think they know what humans do, he said quietly. They don't. He began by activating holographic duplicates of the Titanus Ultima. Dozens of massive ships appeared across the nebula, identical to his own. Enemy sensors locked onto multiple targets. Missiles were launched, only to collide with decoys or be rerouted by the gravitational fields Jared manipulated. Every fleet maneuver they tried was countered, not by brute force, but by clever misdirection. Then Jared initiated the freezing protocol, but selectively. Enemy admirals, diplomats, and flagship crews were immobilized mid-command, unable to give orders. Fleets faltered, formations broke, and panic spread. It was subtle, precise. A human mind had seen patterns they could not perceive, and exploited them fully. Some commanders, frustrated, tried to attack harder. Heavy cruisers advanced, firing volleys of plasma and missiles. Jared's fingers danced across the console. He activated energy wells within the nebula, creating invisible traps that slowed enemy ships, drawing them into areas of gravitational interference. Missiles that should have struck the Titanus Ultima missed entirely, colliding harmlessly with gas clouds or being redirected into the fleets themselves. It was a battle of minds, not of brute power. And in this, humans had an advantage the galaxy consistently underestimated: flexible, creative thinking. While alien fleets relied on numbers and protocols, Jared improvised, adapted, and predicted moves before they even occurred. For hours, he orchestrated chaos. Enemy ships became trapped in invisible fields. Missiles self-destructed. Drones released from the Titanus Ultima subtly disabled weapon systems without causing casualties. The Coalition fleet was in disarray, unable to understand why the massive warship remained untouched. And then came the test of leadership. Jared knew the galaxy was watching. Every communication hub, every intelligence network, even civilians on distant worlds, had begun broadcasting images of the human in command. His goal was not simply survival. It was to demonstrate that humans were clever, disciplined, and worthy of respect. He initiated a new protocol. Using frozen enemy crews, he reconfigured fleet data to relay false orders back to their own ships, sowing confusion and hesitation. Drones maneuvered behind cruisers, pushing them into positions where gravitational anomalies neutralized their engines, all without firing a single destructive shot directly. One alien admiral, seeing the humans' tactics, tried to board the Titanus Ultima using teleport pods. Jared anticipated this. The ship's AI recognized the intrusion, and the pods were immobilized mid-transit. Frozen, suspended in mid-air, the would-be boarders could do nothing. Jared smiled, a lesson in patience and timing. By now, the Coalition fleet was fragmented. Conflicting commands, frozen crews, and manipulated pathways caused entire squadrons to collide or drift helplessly. The human engineer had transformed the galaxy's largest warship into a dynamic chessboard, and he was playing 3 moves ahead at all times. But Jared knew victory required more than defense. It required proof. He had to show that humans were not just clever in survival, but capable of leadership and strategic brilliance on a galactic scale. He began deploying controlled maneuvers that guided enemy fleets to non-lethal containment zones within the nebula. Ships were trapped in energy fields, immobilized safely, their crews unharmed but powerless. Communications across the fleets began broadcasting in confusion, spreading the realization the human had outsmarted them without shedding unnecessary blood. The Coalition admirals, facing what they could only describe as impossible, convened in desperation. They demanded surrender. Release your hold, human. Surrender the Titanus Ultima. Resistance is futile. One growled to the translator, his voice tinged with panic. Jared leaned forward in the command chair, calm, confident, measured. I am not here to fight mindlessly. I am here to protect, to lead, and to demonstrate what humans can do when underestimated. You have a choice: retreat or remain immobilized. There was a long silence. Then the Admiral's voice trembled. You are a human? Yes, Jared replied simply. And yes, we can think differently. That is our strength. The message echoed across the Coalition fleets. Thousands of ships, frozen, disabled, or retreating, broadcasted the proof of one human's ingenuity. For centuries, humans had been underestimated, seen as weak, expendable, or secondary. But here, in the Seraphis Nebula, a single engineer had outsmarted the galaxy's most powerful fleet. With a final command, Jared released the energy wells holding the fleets in place, allowing those who chose to retreat to leave safely. Those who resisted remained immobilized, a reminder of the consequences of underestimating humans. It was not cruelty. It was strategy, precision, and authority. The battle ended without widespread destruction. Civilizations would later recount the events as miraculous, a single human controlling the galaxy's largest warship, defending it with intellect, ingenuity, and restraint. The Titanus Ultima had proven that raw strength was meaningless without creativity and leadership. After the conflict, Jared sat in the bridge, staring at the stars. The fleets were gone, the nebula calm, and the galaxy buzzing with reports of what had occurred. He thought of his home on Cora V, of simple engines and broken circuits. In those simple tasks, he had learned lessons no alien commander could teach: patience, problem-solving, adaptation, and imagination. Those lessons had allowed him to command the mightiest warship in existence. Jared turned to the mind of Titanus. The AI hummed softly, as if in acknowledgement. He realized that the ship had chosen him not only for his intelligence, but for his restraint, creativity, and human perspective. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but they could also lead with reason, protect with ingenuity, and win without unnecessary violence. The galaxy would never forget this day. Humans, long considered secondary, had shown they could dominate not by force alone, but by thinking differently, imagining solutions, and daring to act boldly. Jared allowed himself a rare smile. He had inherited the galaxy's largest warship, yes, but more importantly, he had inherited a role that no one had expected a human to fulfill. He was a strategist, a protector, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve when given opportunity and freedom. And the galaxy had no choice but to respect it. As Part 4 closed, Jared's mind already raced ahead. There would be new threats, new challenges, and new fleets eager to test the Titanus Ultima. But he was ready. He had proven what humans could do. He had frozen enemies without cruelty, defended the galaxy without unnecessary destruction, and shown the universe the power of human ingenuity. The Titanus Ultima was not just a warship. It was a statement, and Jared Kale, a human engineer from a small colony, had delivered that statement across the stars. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again.